welcome everybody. This actually is the 6th year of doing the DAACAT, DEKALB Asgrow Current Agronomic Topics. So welcome, glad to have you on. We've got a lot of people still joining, but we've got a good number already. So just for those of you that are new, myself, Jim McDermott, we've got Dustin Rennert, TA covering North Central Iowa, and Nora Schultz, TA covering Northwest, North Central Iowa, wherever you're needed. But we're glad to have you on. Something we do bi-weekly here, and we thought this would be a good time to start. Since, at least a couple days ago, it looks like the growing season might come on a little bit early. But we're glad to get started. Always good information. At least we think it's good information, but we're always looking for suggestions on topics or other things you'd like to have. And I got to thinking, Dustin and Nora, this might be the last year that this is called DAACAT. Any guesses why?
Yeah, that's true.
Iconic.
Yeah, could be a DAACAT going forward. just saying. Well,
that's not so bad. That's not so bad, though.
Yeah. Always looking for a little different twist on the name. Well, let's jump into the agenda. Start like we usually do with the trivia question. So be ready with your answers to either come off mute and say the answer or put it in the chat. Current topics, planting question mark, probably not right now. Maybe 30 days from now, I'm guessing somebody will be planting. A little bit on seed size, and then really want to spend time on the emergence risk forecast tool. We've had access to this for the last several years. Been a neat tool to use, and now it'll be rolled out to dealers. So very exciting there. Striax update, and then also don't want to talk about nitrogen, a key topic this year, not only because of the cost and availability, but also because of some of the soil conditions, soil temperatures that it was applied in last fall. So jumping right into that trivia question, we haven't talked about southern rust enough. So I have to have a trivia question on southern rust. So how many southern rust spores can one pustule produce in a day? So, we know how tough southern rust was last year, and we know that a big part of that is because it is so prolific. It is able to, through that polycyclic cycle, is able to produce spores continuously. But any guesses on how many it can produce in a day?
We'll play Price is Right rules for the prizes.
Yeah. Well, we've got David, 11,300. So far, David, you are the closest. We've got 1,300. In the interest of time, I'm gonna give it to David. Scotty's got a good guess in there. So we know, probably would have accepted a hell of a lot. We know it's very aggressive. Officially, by the book, 600 to 2,000 spores per day. So we'll take David as our winner. We'll kind of overlook the fat finger on the high number, but I think he was right in there, actually right about in the middle. So yeah, and not only up to 2,000 a day, but for 28 straight days, if conditions are right. So we know right now they're still on the beach having their Mai Tais or whatever other cool drink, spending time down in the south. But yeah, we don't know the risk yet. Certainly there's talk about, there's been more corn acres being planned and even planted already in the south, and less cotton acres. So probably increases our risk again, but still a long ways to go before we're going to make any projections there. And of course, good old tar spot, hardy spores survive the winter on the residue. So it's there waiting for us. Yeah, congratulations, David, our first winner of the year. All right, going to jump into seed size, and just so you're aware, I think a lot of people have access to this. There's certainly different ways of getting charts as far as recommendations on bag weights and seed size, as far as your inches of water and on your John Deere Vax or some of your other planter settings. But this link, which I will send out a PDF of the slides here over the next day, you'll be able to click on that and have access to this in case you haven't seen it. You also can click on the QR code of bag tags. So we know planters do a great job. They can plant a wide range of seed size, and obviously a year like this, we've got some hybrids in tight supply. Sometimes you can't always get exactly the seed size we need. Guess other comments, Dustin and Nora, on that?
I do not, Jim.
All right, well, we keep moving forward, and I wanted to talk about the emergence risk forecast tool. So this is a tool been around for a few years, really almost 5 now. Essentially is giving a forecast of what the risk is for planting in a particular day at a particular location. Of course, using GDU counts, using temperatures, assuming, of course, that corn is going to take around 120 to get out of the ground. We're looking at historical data, the short-term forecast, midterm forecast, and then the long-term forecast. In fact, in past years, we were using a 30-year, but now it's a 10-year, partly because there's been changes, and found 10 years is a little bit more accurate as far as the long-term forecast. So we've had this as an internal tool the last few years. We've been able to play around with it, get it better, tweak it a little bit, and had a web app version launched in 2024. And it continues to get better. Of course, obviously, anything that's a model relying on the weather is something that changes, can change, will change, and a tool by itself is never that valuable. But a tool with the knowledge of your growers, the knowledge of soil conditions, the knowledge of maybe who can handle risk and who shouldn't handle risk, that then it becomes valuable. So you have some data along with your own knowledge of local conditions. That's where you can provide those answers or provide those recommendations on, should we be planting? When do we feel like the risk is acceptable to plant? So really it breaks down location by 2.5 mile temperature grids. We can pick almost unlimited locations, and then it's going to give color. And this is just the overall U.S. map. This actually isn't current. We'll show a current one here in a second. But basically, green is going to be low risk, yellow, medium risk, red, high risk. And it's kind of interesting to watch that as it progresses north throughout the growing season or throughout the spring. So a couple different ways you can look at things. You can take different locations, and this is some last year's examples, but taking some pretty extreme locations from Waco, Texas to Pittsburgh, Kansas to little old Lakeview, Iowa. And then looking at, if it's those 3 locations, it's going to develop lines and give an estimated GDUs. So you've got a bar chart showing the GDUs by location, and then you've got the line chart that's going to give you the point at which it crosses into the 120 GDU, signifying emergence. So from these 3 locations, as you might guess, estimating 10 days to emergence from this particular planting date, which was last year on April 1st. And then moving to Kansas, that's putting it into the medium risk at 15 days to emergence. And then, of course, Lakeview, once we're 18 days or higher, that's putting it into that higher risk category. Another way to look at it is take one location and punch in several different planting dates. So again, Lakeview, looking at the 10th, 17th, essentially for 3 straight weeks. What is that risk? And of course, the risk goes down. It doesn't always do that, but you can see some variation. But it gives you that estimated date of emergence from those particular planting dates. So a few different ways to take a look at it. And what I think is interesting is, we're always looking for those dips. Is it a cool down or a cool rain that's coming in that's going to influence emergence? And that's what these bar charts will show. I mean, this is the projected bar charts from those particular 4 planting dates from Lakeview, Iowa. And you see those days when it's, hanging in there decent for temperature, and then the drastic drop. And there's a few of those throughout the April timeframe. So, those are the periods in my mind that are really critical to watch. And if we've got that forecast coming up, then we need to be cautious, of course, on those planting dates right in front of that.
Jim, I'll throw in there that this is something that you can do like post-mortem if you have a field with an issue or something like that. So you can actually go backwards and go look and see if maybe did that field hit one of those dips, if you have something that you're not so excited about, or just in your problem solving. It's not always forward looking. You can go backwards and do this.
Yep, that is a great point, and that's something during the growing season I think is well worthwhile, because we need a lot of times to do some sleuthing.
And if anyone, as Jim gets his example running, I suggest that if you start running these, save a couple, like put them in a folder somewhere, because the weather changes, the forecast changes. And I had a situation last year where I was able to go back and look and walk through something with a grower where we understood when that forecast kind of changed. At the time, he was making the decision with the best information that he had, but we know Easter, it kind of ended up tougher than we anticipated. And so we were able to kind of look at those from both a forward looking and a backward looking viewpoint. And it was an interesting way to do that, and extra data points.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great point. You able to see the demo there? Yeah.
Yep,
So this is live. And this is a lot of locations that I have saved. And this is really where that risk line is as of right now, as far as the planting risk. And you can see the scale up there in the upper right-hand corner. So simply, if you want to add a location, click on that little arrow down there, and you can either use your current location where you're at, excuse me, or click on a select location or enter lat and long. Typically I'm going to click on select a location, add a marker, and maybe you can just take a spot. And then you can name it. So whatever name you want to put in there. So pretty easy to add locations. As of right now, also too, you just hover over that and it's going to click on it. It's going to give you essentially not even making the scale as of right now. It's too far out. Essentially, if it's taking more than 30 days to get that corn out of the ground, it's saying, don't even bother. I'm not going to even give you it's in the high risk, but I'm not going to give you a days to emergence. But if we go down here to say Joplin, Missouri, it's in the medium risk category. You can look at the details of that, and it's going to give you an active bar chart where you can hover over it and look at GDU accumulation by day. And then it also lays it out this way and gives you what days essentially have very little GDU accumulation or no GDU accumulation, or 10 or higher, it's in the green. And then you can download this PDF or download as a CSV. But this is the nice part, download it as a PDF and send it right off to your grower or wherever else you might want to.
We do have a question from David in the chat. This is targeted at corn and cotton currently, not soybeans. So Jim is just focusing on the corn functionality.
So I'm just going to go ahead and run a quick demo, pick a planting date of April 10th. I'm going to compare locations. It pulls up the ones that I have saved. It pulls that up on the menu. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Fort Dodge and then add. And it's giving me 24 days to emergence from an April 11th planting date. Now, knowing that that's a little ways off, forecast can change, but as I mentioned earlier, as I've been playing around with this for the last couple of days, and as of right now, the predictions for a lot of April seem to be pretty cool. And a lot of that's based on long-term historical averages. Hopefully, when we get to the 10th of April, that we've got a little less risk on our corn planting, but we'll see. And again, gives you that interactive graph, and then you can download the PDF to send off. So I just wanted to go through that. You've also got a help section there as far as being able to look at some information, especially. So what we have is we have a mobile app version, but then you can also share it to what looks like an app on your phone. I mean, basically, it's a way of accessing the I guess it's called a progressive web. So it's not truly an app, but it still gives you an app icon. So that's also eventually will be available for dealers as well. Thing else, I guess, Nora or Dustin, while we're on that live.
I think you mentioned it earlier, obviously everybody on the call knows there's some hybrids in some short supply, and, we always want to get this corn crop started off to the best possible start we can, but with your local knowledge and then using a tool to help you put that in great condition so we don't have to do it a second time.
And I'll add that one of the reasons that we are covering this, it seems a little early, right? It's the relatively beginning of March, first half of March. We want you guys to have time to get comfortable with it, to make sure that everyone should have access to this. But we know with a new launch, there could be hiccups. So we want to make sure that you guys have time to get in, let us know if there's any hiccups. Let's get that solved and then have time to learn the tool before your growers really need it.
Absolutely. Are you able to see the slide on the my crop? Good. So this is the access, and so through my crop, and knowing that at some dealer locations there's several people that access this, but just one sign on should get you there. What we understand, and how things roll out, there's always glitches, or a lot of times glitches, but as of Monday this was available. We've heard of cases where people have been able to get in, no problem. Other cases where they were not able to. So be patient, but my crop is where this is going to be accessed. And then to wrap up on this topic, like Dustin mentioned, there's a hybrid component of this as well, and some things we can try to do to help our customers. On the left-hand side, really some of the DEKALB hybrids we feel are quicker out of the ground, or some of the quickest on the overall emergence and vigor. There's quite a few in the middle that maybe aren't listed on this, but then on the right-hand side, we do have some of these more deliberate emergers, either rated poorly on emergence or vigor. In some cases, both. So if that grower is going out there and say it says it's in the high risk category, but they're going to plant anyway, maybe just try to steer them towards some hybrids more on this side versus some of these as far as on that risk level. That really is where I wanted to wrap up on that topic. I know it took a chunk of time, but I wanted to get through that. But Nora, Dustin, anything else to add to that conversation?
No, I don't. I guess we wanted to hit on, the long anticipated, maybe a little bit later than what we were hoping for, but, we got some good news a couple weeks ago and did get a Striax label. So we were able to use dicamba over the top on XtendFlex soybeans this summer. I'm not going to walk through everything on the label, just really wanted to hit on the key changes for this year, and the ones I do want to call out, I guess, right now on this. So this is the federal label. We do only have a maximum of 1 pound of active. It used to be 2, so 22 ounce use rate can use it twice in season. So that's different than in years past. Along with that, we've had to always use the VRA and DRA, but now it's a 40-ounce VRA use rate and a 0.3 volume to volume on the DRA. These new labels and registrations, the Endangered Species Act, so you have to get mitigation points for runoff and erosion. We'll hit on that, but it's going to require 3 and 6 if you're in a PULA. And I have some more information coming up, and we'll discuss that a little bit more. Probably the one biggest change this year as well is the temperature, the day of application and after. We really need to look at that. So below 85, it's just the use of the DRA, and VRA is still required, but when it's between 85 and 95, we have to do some things that are a little bit different that we know that's going to be somewhat of a challenge. So you are only going to be able to spray 50% of your dicamba tolerant crops within a county. And then you're going to have to wait a day. So if you spray on Friday, it's between 85 and 90. You can spray half of your acres. Then you can come back on Sunday and spray the remaining. And then if the temperatures are above 95 degrees, it is a no spray. Okay, I did go forward. Good. The other things, there's some things that we've had to do in the past. Obviously, there's annual trainings that are mandatory for certified applicators and growers. We'll have to do that. We do need a 240-foot downwind buffer. If it is spraying towards a sensitive crop, it is a no spray, prohibited applications, 3 to 10 miles per hour. So those are all the federal label. The Iowa label did come out. So we do have a cutoff date in Iowa of June 12th or V4, whichever comes first. Kind of similar date for Minnesota, south of I-94, South Dakota. I know we get over west, especially in Jim's area, that they have a cutoff date of June 30th. So then just wanted to hit on kind of the key topics of the changes, and those are the big ones: the downwind buffer, the DRA, VRA rates, and the temperature. So did I miss anything there, Jim, Nora, that we should hit on?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay. So then if we look at, obviously, we talk about these PULAs, so pesticide use limitation areas. Here's the map of northwest Iowa, kind of zoomed out. So we got a area around the lakes, and then kind of east of Spencer, some down kind of east of Storm Lake as well. All of these were for the Endangered Species Act to mitigate erosion or runoff and erosion and then you need points. So the Striax label, it's going to require 3 points. And if you're in a PULA, it is going to require 6 points. And, when I first heard this, I know I sat through the ICM conference, and it really started to scare you, like, oh man, how are we going to get all these points? But I pulled these slides together. It's not too hard to get to 2 points or to 6 points. I mean, so I just highlighted, this is not all of them. You can go on the EPA website to look, but as I have some highlighted here, if you're in a medium vulnerability area, you get 2 points for that. If you make, good record keeping, you get a point. If you work with a technical specialist, CCA, you can get a point there as well. This next map, here's the runoff vulnerability area. So you can see most of all in northwest Iowa. You get into more north central Iowa, you have some high where you'd only get a point. But most of the area that we cover as TAs, you're going to be in the medium, so you automatically get 2 points there. And the other ones that I wanted to call out that where you can gain some points. So if you're no-till, we do have a fair amount of no-till beans. You can get 3 points there. The big one, if you're not irrigated, you get 3 points as well. So pretty easy to get to 6 points, but we are going to have to document these cases, especially if you're in a PULA, you need 6 points. But this is something we're really going to have to familiarize ourselves with, because as you know, new products come out, new labels, re-registrations, they're all going to have some mitigation points for the Endangered Species Act. And then just one key last topic, we kind of put it on one slide of, you know, the key points to the Striax label. 1 pound active, 22 ounces, you get a half pound in that 22 ounce use rate, a 40 ounce VRA, 0.3 volume to volume DRA. And then the temperature, those are the big ones, the temperature, the day of and the day after application. But it was good news. We were long time waiting. We were hoping to have it earlier than this, but it was good news, and we're happy to have it, and gives us another tool in the toolbox to try to control weeds. Anything from you, Jim or Nora?
Nope, I think you summed it up well. Good to have the label. Yeah, not perfect. Some of the state guidelines were not what the federal label said, but they better than not having a label.
All right, well, my turn, guys, to just discuss, bring back to last fall, all the nitrogen we put on, and just bring it back to your mind. So while we have some cool days, like Jim said, we have maybe some wet days coming up, we can talk about this. We know nitrogen supply, pricing, it's all really touchy. So having these conversations in a targeted manner is the goal, in a timely fashion, so that we're not scrambling mid-season. So what I want to call your attention to is just a reminder of the nitrogen cycle, right? This is a natural process that we are not able to stop. We can slow. With nitrogen stabilizers, we can slow it down by applying under 50 degrees, but it's not something that we can stop. And last fall, we had some very unusually warm temperatures when, with our crop being early, we were applying a lot of manure when it was very warm. I debated on what picture to add to this slide. This was the first day for Northwest Iowa where we had soil temps under 50 and stayed under 50 for an extended period of time. But like the first week of October, we had some soil temps of 77 degrees. Okay. And I know that in our group chat, we said, oh no, they're putting on manure, because we had to go. We know, right? The fields are out, and pits are full. But these things can have long-lasting impacts into next season. So these slides will go out, so you'll have your talking points about the nitrogen cycle and stuff here. But if you could slip to the next, is it going to go? Oh, it did go forward. No, did it go forward? It's spinning for me.
I have it forward on mine.
Great. Country internet, I tell you. So I want you guys to stop and think, who are our manure applicators? When did they apply? If you can remember, right? Did they apply in early October? Did they use any stabilizers? And then what's their yield goal going forward? What's their risk tolerance? What's their, desired ROIs or input costs or things like that? There's going to be a little bit of a moving target for this conversation, but we need to anticipate the fields with high leaching. And this is a scale that comes out of Madison that shows the relationship of nitrification in a percent based on temperature. So we can see if we really had soil temps between 60 and 72, we can have 80% nitrification. Now, we don't know every field and what it lost. If we get rain for the next 3 or 4 weeks, that could change the picture that we have for our nitrogen availability. But having that conversation now with the growers that you know are, again, really pushing the yield, or we know we applied too early for some reason, but we had to go, the pits were full, or, whatever the reason was. Sitting down and having that conversation, hey, let's design right now a split end program. What would that look? What costs are you willing to put into it? Here's our prices now. Can we lock in a price to pull the trigger when you're ready? things like that. Understand what levers you and your grower are comfortable with on these high risk fields, but it's easier to do it now than it is Memorial Day weekend when we realize we have a perfect stand, but we've had a lot of rain and now we need to scramble to find these high risk fields. So I don't want to take a whole lot of time because I know we're at time, but this is just something to think about, guys, for the next few weeks while we're just a touch slower. Any comments from you, Jim or Dustin?
Yeah, I was just going to add that I like watching soil temperature, especially the forecast on the Messenet this time of the year, and it was projecting quite a few above 50 degree soil temperatures. That was a week ago, and of course, again, a projection, so that is changing. And not that that's the end of the world, but the warmer we get earlier, of course, then if we start getting those rains, another thing that's increasing the chance at leaching and nitrogen loss. So yeah, we know the whole nitrogen issue is touchy, like you mentioned, but we also want to make sure we are maximizing every opportunity for yield potential. All
right. Well, that's all we had, guys. Unless anybody has any questions, comments, I don't see anything in the chat. Go ahead and open your CCA app, scan that QR code, and thanks for joining us on a surprisingly snowy morning. We appreciate every one of you.
Yes, certainly do. Thank you for being on, and we are in our normal cadence, so every other week, Wednesday, 8 o'clock is the plan. So we're always open to suggestions or topics. Usually there's no trouble coming up with plenty of topics, and some of us get a little long-winded too, even.
Happens. It happens.
And again, we will send this out as a PDF, so you'll have these for access. But
nope, I just want to thank everybody for joining. Have a good day and a safe spring as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Take care.